It's Taito Citadel for game 1. Top left, Clem. Bottom right, Solar. So another TVZ here. Solar did a great job versus Beyond, some fun games. Ended on a bit of a low note, but just was one of the best games, really, for Solar. Versus Clem, though, I mean, he has the potential, as I said last week when these two played, Solar has the potential to take a game or even a series technically off of Clem. It does not happen very often. Generally, it happens because basically in the mid-game, during the tug of war that Clem is almost always winning, he makes a mistake or Solar capitalizes on something very well, and then the balance shifts at that point. I know that's very vague, but this is to say that it's not necessarily Solar's wins don't come from cheeses. They don't come from getting it to the super late game. They don't come from changing his style, roaches to mutas to banelingless, like whatever. It's not really, I think, any one of those things that he can say, aha, that worked. Let me do that again. It's more of a feeling. It's more just like in the mid-game, can some of these engagements that are happening around the map go more Solar favored or stay Clem favored as they typically do? I think Solar's attempts to change things up is always great. You know, go into roaches, go into mutas, do no banelings, and that will hopefully trip Clem up in some way, but just doesn't seem to that often. Not enough as well to actually win the series. 2x opener from Clem. Seems like it's making a bit of a comeback. Is that what's happening? It's in vogue now. It's stylish. I don't know. But Solar is obviously going to be very equipped to deal with this. He has played versus these guys for a while. And while these were once a new map difficulty, maybe the Reapers found the third faster than you think, and you have to cancel the hatchery because you don't know the map. They've actually been playing on these new maps for so long in so many tournaments. So many tournaments were like, yeah, forget the regular ladder map. Well, never mind. we're gonna do something fun. But they actually don't even consider these really new maps anymore. They still change out 1 or 2 maps, I think, every week or every couple of weeks, I guess. But yeah, these are also the more normal-ish maps anyway. So presumably this won't do a lot of damage. Solar's reacting the way that he typically does against this, so he's hidden that third drone over so that the Reaper can't find it, and then he builds 8-lings instead of just 4. In this case, he built 10, actually. The one already died. But with Clem going for 3 CC behind this will not get any more dangerous. So that potentially controversial thing that I was talking about, I linked it in chat. I say it's potentially controversial because I don't think it's a bad discussion to have. But White Raw is trying to make an autobiography about his time playing StarCraft, which sounds really cool. But he is asking for $30,000 to do it. And I think that's a lot. And I know, you know, there's plenty of reasons to why it could be a lot, I suppose, but people, you know, will say this on Reddit, and then someone will come in and be like, well, here's the price breakdown, because he literally had the price breakdown on the Kickstarter page, which is always good, transparency. But the thing is that, you know, it could mean a lot of things. Like 17% going to X or Y or Z could be outrageous for all we know. Not saying that it is. I'm not saying he's trying to con anyone. Definitely don't want to say that about White Raw. But it's like we don't actually know. Like, I've never published a book. I don't know if 17% going to the publisher, I don't know, whatever it is, like is actually standard. Just because it's a percentage breakdown, does it actually mean that it would require $30,000 and not $20,000? But they're hoping that like an extra 10 would be, you know, basically pure profit. We wouldn't know. So, I mean, I think the intent in Kickstarter is very okay. There's an all-in on the way. Is almost I think it says like you can't like actually like make a profit or something like that. Like, it has to all be used in the design of the book. But anyway, it's also a question of like, are you actually, you know, capable of making that amount? Like, is that really what you should be asking for? That's one of the things I was thinking I would talk about. But we're gonna need to slow the roll here on this conversation because this is an actual all-in on the way. So I grabbed a Roach Warren, hit it kind of in the back, building a lot of Lings, building the Ravagers now, and Clem did not pick up on it. He didn't see the roaches, I guess. This is no bunker response so far. First tank is not going to be out. Oh my god. Okay, this seems very, very, very bad for Clem. Solar has successfully hidden this attack. And I don't see how Clem gets out of this one. His units are lifted. He sees the Lings incoming, goes, oh, run by. Oh shit, there's Roach Ravager too. Oh no, and his army is so far across the map. He boosts it back. He gets combat shields denied as well. Ay, ay, ay. Tank does siege in the main, but he never walled. Oh, because he walled in the natural, of course. Oh, Jesus, that tank's not going to last very long. Marines who take out reinforcing Lings. There's still so much army remaining, and 16 Marines without combat shield, I do not believe takes care of this army. SCV's got to be pulled into the fray. Already 19 going down. He will absolutely be losing more. I mean, this is game-ending damage, even if he cleans this up. 40 SCVs is game-ending damage. Solar would have to really drop the ball on the defense if he ends up losing this, which is possible. It is absolutely possible. Not to say that Solar, you know, is prone to making that follow-up mistake, but just more that Clem could force something from sheer force of will. But 30 is about where, like, oh, who wins really? I mean, the Zerg has some benefit, the Terran has some benefit. You're like, eh. But 44 SCVs killed, that's generally actually game over. That sends Clem into even sub 10 SCVs. He's been rebuilding them while he can. And that's just too bad. That's there's a big difference between 25 SCVs and 8 SCVs, right? Like, and I think it really was these two that played a mothership last week, and that's when Solar all in and dealt 30 SCVs of damage. And there's actually two great examples of what that all in does to give the Zerg a chance, and what that all in does to just straight up win it for the Zerg player. And I think this will straight up win it for him. Pretty sure about that one. Clem trying his best to secure 3 base mining so he can also drop mules every which way. Very difficult to do while also trying to be aggressive. You're not building all the army you can. Oh my god. Wow, that... If it wasn't game over then, it is now. Third CC alive. I could see Clem staying in this game. Third CC killed. Not so much. Just really trying to win the game with the Marines we see here. Again, combat shieldless. They're doing a bang-up job, aren't they? Killing 8 drones. Now he's only at, like a third. Nope, still like a fourth of his opponent's drone count. It's still not good. Killed that Overseer, though. Got that going for him. Nah, this is pretty damn game over. I think Clem probably just playing this out of frustration. He usually catches this at some point. This is actually the most effective all-in I've seen from a Zerg player in a long time. Usually what happens is that the Zerg player is able to hide it until about the midway point. Because a Hellion or a Reaper goes out and says, oh shit. Or maybe they even hide it up till this point, but they still, like, the army is still there. So you lift, you pull the SCVs, the tank actually helps. It's something a little more than just literally the army is attacking your barracks before you realize what's going on. And I think Clem's pretty frustrated himself for having that happen. Because when that happens, there's nothing better that Clem could have done. Like, you can't be frustrated that you didn't micro your SCVs better in the defense. Like, there was just nothing you could have done at that point. It's more frustrating that you had no scout whatsoever. And 99% of the games Clem plays against Zerg, he would at least scout it with like a 4 or 5 second notice. And for him, that's a very big difference. Anyway, back to the Kickstarter thing. Yeah, my discussion is again, like, not trying to accuse anyone of anything. I'm sure it does cost a lot of money to actually properly publish an autobiography. It's more that whenever you make a Kickstarter or any crowdfunding initiative, the idea is that you kind of want to prioritize actually being able to access that money before anything else. So you don't just say, how much does it cost? you say, how much do I really believe people would give to have this? Because if you don't hit the goal, you don't get the money. So with that in mind, you kind of you make the the actual goal itself is not actually what I would say you want from a Kickstarter. Most Kickstarters, actually. It's the stretch goals that they really need to say, like, oh, okay, this is doing well. You know, and honestly, like, hitting 100% of the goal is actually like a marketing tactic as well. You go, oh, we hit 100% of the goal. Like, wow, it's so amazing. Like, look, it's doing so well. And then maybe even Kickstarter notices and everyone else notices, and they assume that because it's hit, it's obviously going to be made, so they're not potentially just, you know, wasting time. It's just like, it's a whole thing that I feel like was like that wasn't considered, basically, is my controversial statement. It's just that I feel like the project didn't consider that people would not want to give $30,000 for the autobiography. You know what I mean? And maybe that's controversial. But anyway, we now have game number 2 on Mothership, which again, I still think is a very fun map. Middle left is Clem. Bottom right-ish is Solar. Yeah, goal $1, stretch goal 30,000. Yeah, right. But it, you know, it goes into the research, right? Which is that, okay, say it 100% absolutely takes at least $30,000 to do it, and you can't make it. That sucks, but that is reality, isn't it? Like, that would just be something you had to have a conversation with yourself whenever was part of the team. Being like, look, I don't believe this is actually realistic. So what else can we do? Can we do a shorter run? Can we make it a shorter book? I don't know if that helps. Can we find some cheaper way to publish it? Can we take out the pictures? You know, if there's going to be pictures in the book, I think that costs quite a bit more. Can we take that out? You know, what's gonna happen is I can guess how much people will give for this, and I hope they give more. But to evaluate what it costs, but actually what people will give you, it seems like that's where the breakup was. So, because I am also talking about it because it is going to be kind of sad. I would love to be able to have a book of StarCraft history. There aren't any. There are some self-published Amazon, you know, what's the word? Like, not the electronic books. There we go. And that's okay, but it's still, like, to me, it's not as cool. It's not as visceral as having an actual book. So I guess I'm kind of, you make conversation during some of the early games here, but I'm also like, oh. I'm just kind of sad. It's almost certainly not going to hit its goal. There is one. Interesting. I would say that, you know, it makes sense that there aren't many, I guess, physical books, because that would be where the cost is. But then I guess I hear that there's like a physical book about StarCraft, and I'm also just, I immediately default. I'm like, well, is it any good? I don't actually believe that. Well, Solar already used his Ling Baneling or Ling Roach Ravager. There we go, all in. I don't think he's gonna do it again. I do wonder about Mothership being a good muta map, though. Kind of want him to do that. The fact that he's already got one on the board against Clem must feel good. Doesn't often get that first win. Sometimes he gets a second win, but he still loses the overall series. Clem this time around is going to go into a 1-1-1 Hellion Banshee. Last game, 2 racks opener into 2-1-1. Gave him a decent number of Marines. Strong medevac timing, but not the ideal against an all-in. Particularly one that is completely unscouted. Hellion Banshee goes up against an all-in that's completely unscouted. It's also less than ideal. A lot of what you defend, how you defend an all-in is by scouting it. But it kind of, like, theoretically, I suppose, has more chances to scout it. Hellions are constantly being out on the map, roaming around looking for this, and able to do so without having having to fear being surrounded by the Lings. And then the Banshees can just get so much extra damage done if you do end up scouting it that it's less of like a butt clench moment with the Marines desperately trying to get into bunkers that are barely finishing. But, you know, this is also something that Clem does as a bread and butter build, where it just does that good amount of scouting, harassment, maybe a decent amount of straight up damage if the Banshees get lucky, and then goes into a totally fine mid-game. And it's something I talked about last week, which I feel like Clem, you know, he was doing a lot of SCV scouts. Seems like he's not doing it today, but he was last week. In Zerg players, he was always SCV scouting and then blocking or ignoring the hatchery. I feel like that's something that a guy like Clem can get away with, because you can SCV scout against any race all you want if you are not a professional. There is no way that lack of economy is actually going to affect your overall game, okay? Improve other things before you start thinking about not SCV scouting. But then at the pro level, it's like, well, that actually kind of is important. Like, hold on, like maybe we don't want to do that this time around. And then you get one step beyond that, and that's Clem. It's like, well, just do whatever the hell you want. and then hit him in the mid-game, and that's where you're going to win. Yeah. I'm sure it's easier said than done, especially if you're facing like some of Cyril or Raynor, who often take games off of him. But versus Solar, Solar's a great Zerg, but he does have a weakness to Clem. Henley and Banshee finding a lot of damage, as I was speaking to, far more than a Zerg player would ever want to take to this opening squad of units. 8 drones killed, a queen as well. They make that 3 queens. Good lord. Oh my god, it's not even quite done. Oh, he's gonna go after the drones? Okay, fine. Still. That was way too much damage, and the Banshees escaped just barely. Maybe this is not gonna be controlled, to be fair. Okay, so that Banshee's dead. Still pretty worth. Still pretty worth. Mutas are on the way, though, and that's something that Clem did not know about. And his army did not get into necessarily the nook and all the crannies of seeing the gases. He did see the third base gases quite quickly, though, and I think that it was enough of a tell. In fact, I'm positive he is building missile turrets at the exact right time. Not only that, I think Solar has been leaning towards mutas on this map. So there's a lot of things that could have given Clem a feeling, and now I think that was a good enough scout. So he's going to have protection against the mutas that are desperately hoping that there won't be any. He's like, yeah, I'm going to kill 20 SCVs and maybe have to give up my 4th base, but maybe we'll call it even then. He's going to lose his 4th base and kill nothing. He's going to lose a muta instead. So that might have been the moment Solar considered tapping out, honestly. Still not. He is still not, but this is bad things happening. And then Muta could go down. Still not finding much success. Clem's not going to reach too far, though. He is pulling back with his army, but considering he just sent that Zerg player back down to 3 bases, his own 3 base remain untouched, you can be pretty happy with that result. Might even be trying to cut off the mutas. He's damn close to it. Man, jeez. Oh, he got... Was that a little bait? That might have been a little bait. So we're not going to go after it. Avatar Papa, thank you for the 15 months. Solo's in a heck of a lot of trouble. With this opener, you do not have quick upgrades at all. But hopefully you get a lot of pressure. You know, you start to pressure them with the mutas. They don't know they're on the way. Those SCVs go down. The missile turrets have to be built. The Marines have to run around trying to dodge and weave. Then the creep spread gets out of control. The 5 bases are established. The 80 drones are established. The Ling Bailing starts to even threaten with the mutas, and the Terran has to wonder, okay, how do I get on the map? We saw that. We saw that exact scenario versus Bjorn in the last series when Solar was able to get mutas without losing a bunch of shit, first of all, and then also without them being scouted. And that went wonderfully for him. This is the exact opposite scenario. This should be one of the easier games for Clem. He is losing some more reinforcements now to the mutas, but he is the attack that is... I feel like it's actually unbeatable. You know, Clem could still run on a creep with his Marines balled up against Banelings, so there is always that, but it's doing what it should. These light touches are ensuring Clem's victory. Just kill a hatchery, move away. Kill a hatchery, move away. Eventually, Solar will die. Just not take good engagements, because he shouldn't, really. Clem should not let him. Or he'll just throw his hands up in the air and be like, well, I'm definitely dead, and try one last attempt to hold or attack. And then that'll kill him too. Just gonna attempt to hold with some connections, but there's still a lot of bio behind this. Some Widow Mines too. And really only left to the mutas, which are quite a few. 19 mutas with +1. No more banelings, however, as they fail to crash into the remaining Marine hit squad. Clem going over 4th base very offensively. I do like that position. Solar trying to replace now a 5th, because his 4th is finally up and running. Not quite ready to let this one go. He's got some tools. Gonna try and use them. Mass repair in the missile turret. Not quite gonna do the trick. I did buy a lot of time. Wouldn't mind killed a muta as well. 10 SCVs do go down, but Clem is once again on the offensive. Now very deep onto creep. He realizes it. He's trying to pull away in time. He will do so. Wouldn't mind gets a little bit of a reach, but doesn't get the best possible hit. And that's like the riskiest thing that Clem has done so far, is move that deep onto creep. Maybe he didn't intend to. That might have been a misclick. I'm not sure. He might have been just very confident, realizing that there were so many banelings, though. Second guessing that particular attack. Continuing to improve his army with better upgrades. A Thor as well. Continuing to improve his economy despite losing some SCVs. I think he's very okay actually being sent back down to 62 SCVs, not replacing them. And 3-3, if nothing else, should be the nail in the coffin. I commend Solar's tenacity. Still trying to make this work. No Overseer, though. Just can't kill the Widow Mines that do have Drilling Claws. Another frustration is Widow Mines popping off every which way that he looks. He's trying to dodge and weave. Still losing one muta with every shot. Another one goes down. His muta count down to 14. And these banelings are going to be rolling off of creep into those Marines, ready to focus fire. That Thor taking a lot of damage, and that is going to be it. GG's, Clem. You know, we had to play that right. No doubt about that. It wasn't a stim to win situation. Not with creep and banelings, but I think we all just had a lot of confidence that Clem would play that absolutely correctly. Good on Solar to play it out. The chances of mistake being made increase as those mutas continue to grow in numbers and create a more chaotic game. But the way that Clem played that, he just made sure it never got too much to handle. And now it's all tied up. In the bottom right of Winter Madness, it is Clem. In the top left, we do have Solar. Game 1, Solar wins with one of the best all-ins. Just so unlikely for him to get another situation in which an all-in is unscouted. Basically completely. So unlikely. There's a couple other all-ins, some of them that are very clever, like there is a Muta Ling Baneling all-in that can be sometimes hard to read just because it's one of the least likely things for a Zerg Mutas to do. Solar tried that, I think, a few weeks ago too, and it didn't work. Even if Clem or Beyond, and those are always the two that end up this deep into the tournament. Either Clem or Beyond, first of all, they can get caught off guard, which is kind of the first thing that has to happen against that. And then second of all, I feel like I don't know. I could be wrong, but it kind of also feels like the macro of the Terrans have gotten so good. Depending on which build they've chosen, I suppose. But it seems like it's gotten so good that actually when Solar did that Mutiling Baneling all-in, it's like off of 3 bases, very low drones. It's seriously just like a are you paying attention or not kind of all-in. Even if Clem wasn't paying attention, I feel like he still would have held it. So that's... it exists. It's a bit weird. It's out there. Something that works against people. I'm not sure it really does anymore. There's a Ling Baneling all-in that Solar actually does still against people who forward 2 racks. But it's obviously not forward 2 racks. I don't think he's going to do a Ling Baneling all-in. And then, you know, the number of all-ins, I guess, starts to dwindle a little bit. One of the ways that Clem used to be caught off guard was roaches, like an actual roach game. But he's fixed that. It would still be the kind of third way, I suppose, that Solar could play. There's the all-in way. That was game 1. There is the Ling Baneling Muta way, game 2. And Ling Baneling counts as game 3. Ling Baneling Hydra into Lurker. Okay, fine. But to really change it up, maybe when a roach is game 3. I would not advise Solar anything if I were his coach. Because I'd just be like, ooh. I don't know, this guy's pretty good, I'll tell you. Clem with the SCV Scout this time around. He did I could have sworn he did not do it last time. Maybe I just missed it, though. I was talking about other things. So. Plus, I don't think he does it if he forward 2 Raxes. So that also makes sense. But he is doing it this time around. Didn't get to block or delay anything. But I suppose it is still worth checking that you're not being super all-in in the early game. Didn't even mention some of the 2-base all-ins that were at one point in time popular. They got less popular, particularly because the Cyclone didn't have to have a tech lab anymore. You could build it automatically off of a add-on lists factory, which was really, really big for that timing. Now that we're back on having to have a tech lab, you'd think that that all-in might come back, but I think the other reason it stopped being done is because Terran players were really figuring it out very well. If they got a whiff of it, they knew how to defend against it. They hardly ever made mistakes. Even I was enjoying facing that, like, 2-base, you know, like, pool first into the Roach Ravager follow-up. Even I, as bad as I am the Terran, was kind of like, oh, okay, I know how to handle this, and I think I get the benefit if I do it right. So what does that leave Solar? Again, the choice of, like, Lean Baneling or Roaches. That's mostly what we're looking for. Clem going for a 3cc 111, very safe, very flexible. Last game, it did a tremendous amount of damage, which really is why Solar was in such a bad position in the first place. I spent a lot of time talking about how the mutas were scouted, and the Mist Swords were already down, but that was, I think, that sucked for Solar. I think that was in combination with an ultra sucky early game defense. Losing 3 queens and 8 drones to the harassing squad is unacceptable at this level. I mean, it's just unacceptable as in you will die if you do that versus Clem, not as in Solar is so bad, can't believe he did that. No, it's something you can't allow to happen if you think you're going to win the game. Solar is usually A-okay in the defense, but Clem has a way of making the weaknesses really shine. Right now, we're getting a little AI difficulty. Those queens, knowing if they all move to the right side, then this would be open. No lings available. Last second evolution chamber block, though, is very good. And Clem doesn't know that there aren't any lings quite available. They all just popped out, I think. They're somewhere. Yeah. They must have all just popped out. But still not as much damage as last time. 8 lings go down, but so do 2 Hellions. That's fine. A couple of lings. Actually, we're chasing. Well, maybe that's where the Hellion numbers were killed. Still 6 Hellions. Gonna be good enough to even add into the attack, which is where we're now more so readying ourselves, or Solar certainly will be. Readying himself for the marine attack, which may or may not include the armory. Doesn't look like it will. I mean, we're still not quite to the medevacs. It still could. Queen barely not going to go down. She might. Nope. More transfuses come in here. Ling's trying to stop those Hellions from chasing. Some of those Hellions, so injured from earlier, do go down. And it's not going to get quite the same freebies as last game. Those queens are forced to use about every scrap of energy that they have, but they are defending. Hellions now getting into the natural. I don't think they're going to kill a ton of drones, but they are in the one-shot territory, so this is where it's still really scary. No, not quite going to happen. There we go. Last Hellion cleaned up. More so, I was going to say that Clem also gets a little scout. One that often gotten. Also miscontrols the Banshees. Oh, with that in mind, this has turned from, well, let's account for the drone losses, plus a little bit of the chaos, little lost mining. And so, okay, no, actually, Clem has lost all forms of early game aggression. Not something that he is ever really found. Like, usually there's 1 Banshee alive, there's 2 Hellions alive. That's potential opening for later. So the Hellions are going to be Hellbats with this attack, so it's a little less scary. Banshees won't be stopping, like this 5th, for instance. Sometimes they get that. They also won't be scouting for run-bys, which is really some of their best uses once the cloak, or they actually went for high plate rotors this time, so they're completely... That was completely useless. Afford you, like, you use them to scout for the run-bys, and now that's not there. Solar might try and just push that a little bit more. And run-bys... Getting around to the 3rd, especially when the 4th comes up. Hive already on the way. Lurkaden on the way. This feels like one of the best setups for Solar. It's not quite the same. I mean, it kind of sucks. The Zerg players might be rallying their keyboard right now, like ready, poised to complain when I say this, but I said you can't lose 8 drones and 3 queens to Clem and expect to win the game. Unfortunately, the reverse isn't quite true. You're never going to say Clem can't lose 6 Hellenes and 2 Banshees without doing anything and lose the game. I'm sorry, it's not how it works. It's very unjust. But yeah, Clem's nowhere near losing the game. But I think he did lose a lot of the usual like build up to the mid-game aggression with Marines that he usually has. Solar with a lot of Hydras right now. Not a whole lot of Banelings, though, and running low on the front line is a little scary. The Fungal also missing is quite unfortunate. Okay, well, another Fungal's available, and that one is going to be good! Clem, not realizing it was there. That was what the Hydras were really waiting for. It was him and Han, because I think both players were playing with fire right there. Fungals, yes, 100% Solar wins that fight, right? Like, GG. But without those Fungals, the Hydra Marine critical mass was a bit in question. Seems like that would be good enough to get him to Lurkers. One of them might be canceled. Focus firing actually caused the cancel. But that's okay, because I don't think Lurkers are necessary right now. That is so many Hydras. Jesus, it's 30 Hydras! A little less now. Who mind's getting shots because the Overseer's not here, but yeah. Honestly, 30 Hydras. Now 24. That's still a lot of damage. Equal upgrades. Medevac count is good, but yeah, that was just that critical mass that you did need. And so the Marines not going to be able to just stand their ground. Not yet, anyway. Clem attacking now on the left, just dropping off to the right. Solar. One thing about the Hydra, though, if you're going to rely mostly on Hydras, is that splitting them is when suddenly that critical mass isn't there, and you could start to lose a lot. But if they're going to have Lurkers, then beautiful, easy defense, that'll do the trick. 4 Lurkers combined right here. You're going to need either a lot of attention focused on the drop to deal the damage to them, or you're just going to say, okay, Lurkers are there, fair game, and you're going to run away. It requires too much effort to try and tackle. So the main army can stay here and continue to be a surprisingly strong presence against Clem's Bio Ball. Lurker is still on the main army too. Now we're up to 8 of them. Infestor is also still alive, something that Clem has to be very scared of. I think Solar's found himself in one of the best positions, macro-wise, mid to late game-wise against Clem in a few games, in a few weeks. 2-2 is about to finish, but we got Lurkers on the front line. And 2-2 isn't the response to that, you know? You want those ghosts, and they are here. A couple snipes go down, take out 2 Lurkers, and there's only 2 available. That's not so bad. You do need the concave, though, so canceling the command center is a bit of a twofold reasoning for that. Another snipe went down, but this bio not really getting the situation that they want. Mass Repair's gonna have to happen on Planetary. He does have the army off the left side, but it's mostly medevacs, so that's not as intimidating of a surround as it might look on the mini-map. In fact, actually, Clem acknowledged it. I actually really like, I think he might have even thought about going in for this round, and he realized it wasn't going to work, so he just sends the medevacs over to the more important army, where the medevacs are actually needed. Under this much pressure, sometimes you make silly mistakes against Lurkers, and Clem did not. Just a little drop to the top left, going after the base, maybe drawing some units back. Lurkers do reposition, creating more of a choke, possibly, that the bio has to force itself through. Now 5 Lurkers on the front line, too, so none defending bases. Clem's little drop continues to find bits of damage. It looks like Clem is going to buy enough time, holding onto the Planetary, building up that ghost count, preparing possible surrounds, that Solar is going to back away. His Lurkers are still very intimidating, getting a lot of shots off on these ghosts. Snipes are coming through, however, despite that, and now the Lurker count dwindling. Fungals on the front again, kind of missing maybe from some of the previous engagements, but I think that was just kind of a fair game scenario. Yeah, the Lurkers were intimidating. Now that the ghosts were in higher numbers and the bio ball wasn't as panicked, well, the Lurkers are a little less intimidating, and they kind of have to pick and choose how they engage. In fact, and this is not surprising, they might have to actually pick and choose actually making Lurkers. Like their time of the power spike of Lurkers is gone. And I actually like that Solar is basically giving up on them. Maybe they'll come out again later when there's a Nidus Worm. Maybe they'll come out again later if, like, there's a really good fight, and then, 8 lurkers sieging a natural would be the best possible scenario. But right now, we're not going to try and enforce the lurker issue. 3 lurkers, maybe even used offensively for the time being. Solar is on now 6 bases. Almost 7. Trying to get this one set up with Rich Vespi and Geyser. Clem is going over to his 5th now, as they had to be canceled and delayed for a little while. Solar's power spike with the lurkers was scary, but now I'm kind of worried that was his only power spike in this game. So many snipes just went down. Still, Fungal came through. Solar realizing he might still have enough without the planetary being done. He's right about that for a time. Frenzy being used to run away from the Liberators can also be used to jump on top of them. And especially if you're not in a truly desperate scenario, I do think Lunge is kind of a fun upgrade. Solar with a good bank heading into this late game TVZ. Things are pointing, like they look good for a Zerg player. My fear is that it is still Clem. Clem who has not been broken, a Clem who is not desperately fighting for his life on 4 bases. And perhaps this is the inevitability that Thanos was talking about. He is inevitable. Clem's late game win. Oh god, okay, there's a lot going on. Hydra's still trying to kind of run forward, but that's a lot of bio left over with snipes. So yeah, running away has to happen before the snipes go on. I guess that's another use for Lunge. Solar, he's trying to find these engagements that look a little, I don't know, like they're not the most clear-cut green light you'll ever see in your life. Yes, go after the Terran. Yes, attack into them. He's really trying to see if, like, maybe this is better than it might look initially, kind of running in with the Hydras right there. Despite so much bio being left, it was like, well, maybe. No. You got to be so careful about those. Because running away from snipes, notoriously difficult to do. Shark Festers being burrowed around a little bit. Still only at 1 Infestor. 1 had died, actually. Some lurkers were made, as I said, maybe around the time people had a Nidus Worm. And the Nidus Worm is done. So could see if that has any effectiveness. They don't have any missile turrets around. The Nidus Worm is not being set up either. Clem able to defend both bases pretty well. We're going to go through the middle. Liberator gets taken down, but this Sim City is once again just so damn difficult to push on through. It does kind of create a barrier, though. I mean, this might be an attempt to go after the planetary, as Clem's own Sim City is working against him as far as reacting quickly. He kind of pushes through his own choke into the Banelings, crashing through, killing a command center, killing a factory, killing a couple of those ghosts for sure as well. Oh, whoops-a-daisy. Accident burrow hotkey being used. Clem's still left with a bio army that can chase down the last little remnants here, but overall, that was the attack that I was talking about. It was like, I don't know, the bio is still behind on the Sim City. Do we really want to push it? Yes, we do, not only because it worked out, but also because a Nidus Worm was being planted in the main, so Clem's focus was entirely on the attack, as was mine, and Solar had plan B, and it is working out really well. Lurkers in the main base causing havoc in the production line. Ling's trying to help out elsewhere, not going to be too important, but we have 24 SCVs going down, potentially another command center going down. Clem's supply not able to recover from that last engagement. Some last-second splits mitigating the damage. Clem absolutely on the ropes right now, and Solar just trying to remax as fast as possible to take advantage of that. He gives Clem 60 seconds, and Clem probably gets maxed out again. And another, I know that's about, and gets another chance at this game. That mule drop, I don't know what hotkey went awry there, but Liberators once again trying to find those chokes. There was only 1 Liberator on that choke last time. Maybe having 6 in a choke would be better this time. Clem's still not maxed out, but he does have an equal army supply. And Solar's remax and running across the field was not fast enough. I mean, it's not his fault, but it just wasn't fast enough to quite capitalize on the, I think it was on time, of 40 supply difference. Now a 20 overall supply difference, but again, army count is a little different. Another orbital is going to go down. These are important bases. This is not a situation where Clem had built up 10 or 15 extra bases. And he's like, I'll get to that later. He actually not only needs those to potentially get bases in the future, actual mining bases, he needs those to recover from what is certainly going to be more SCV losses. He also needs scans. He also needs Sim City. All things being taken out as Solar continues to thrive on his own, however many bases economy this is. 9, 10, whatever. Creep spread over halfway as well. I mean, Clem is full-on turtle mode to win. That's the only way he's going to win, is that he turtles, and Solar does not quite get those victories that he had gotten a minute ago. A couple of ghosts found out, taking the wrong path here. Liberators are going to be a nuisance, to be clear. Although these do not have advanced ballistics, so some of them going down, but a lot of Hydras also falling. Oh, that wasn't it. Oh, that wasn't it. That was not it, guys. Oh boy. Without advanced ballistics, I think I was like very Solar minded right there. I was like, yeah, you know what? Those Liberators are a little too close. Go after them. Get them. Get them, Hydras. And they did not get them. They barely did not get some of these. But while they were not getting them, they were a-dying. Solar falling in supply for sure after that engagement. 8,000 resources down for a Zerg player, though, is still pretty good. Like, that was his first, I think, really bad engagement in this game. And he has the economy to recover, although you can see he has used up that bank in that recovery. It was quick. Liberators, some of them repaired, some of them not. The Bio army pulls back to where they can siege up into a choke. And Solar, I don't know, he's going to do it again. Is he really going to go after this? He is. Those Liberators are sieged up, man. The Bio is ready to go. Those snipes also threatening to take down many of Solar's retreating units. This is where I think also the Liberator patch, it's a bug fix, but really a buff, is really shining. The fact that these Liberators can be used as if they are part of the Bio, as they are siege units, but they siege so seamlessly now, is really big for the way that Clem is playing. Like, I spoke of Cure's style at EWC, actually, a couple of games ago, and if the Liberator patch had happened before that, I think that Cure wins against Serral in those games where he did that. Maybe not overall, I think it was like a 4-0 or something, but still, this lip change is big. Clem is surviving, I say a lot thanks to that. Another base trying to be taken, though, is going to be difficult. Clem does not have that just rock-solid SimCity, planetary, static defense, whatever else you need, Liberators, that covers these bases. He could be sacrificing the right side of this map to attain the left side, but it's something he has to do, as that right side is already being taken by Solar. Clem is alive. The Liberators instrumental to that. Solar did not go for those 14 Corruptors he did versus Bjorn, kind of almost preemptively as soon as he, or it was Baby Rain actually, as soon as he saw a couple of Liberators, he was like, Liberators, and he went for 14 Corruptors. This was not that game. The Liberator count kind of snuck up on him, and now he is responding, but I'm not going to say it's too late, it's just it's part of the reason why these last few engagements have not gone swimmingly. 5 Corruptors also ain't quite enough. The Liberator's not involved in this particular fight. It is a high ground concave of Bio. Infestor's out of juice. Once again, Bio happy to take the engagement once those fungals are gone, once the banelings are gone. Planetary did not quite fall, though the extra orbitals did. How many Command Centers have fallen in this game? 4 of them. Clem, I mean, this would be... Some of these engagements are... They look so good for Clem, but in no world does he get to say, aha, I won an engagement, let's immediately counterattack. You just be going so deep on a creep into presumably an instant maxed out Zerg, it would be suicide. So you have no choice but to just hope that you continue to have good defensive engagements. Ghosts are left on one side, Bio on the other. This is a very, very, very scary scenario, but Liberators once again coming in clutch, drawing the line in the sand, protecting those ghosts. Bio then coming in for a threatening surround. And again, those Corruptors just not high enough in numbers because, 3 Corruptors are not one-shot a Liberator. You're basically looking at one-shot Corruptor numbers, or you're looking at losing a lot of Corruptors in your attempt to kill the Liberators. Again, those ghosts, alone as they are, looking just so succulent. He really wants to kill this side of the army, and you think he will. The Medevac's forced to try and flee, but there are Corruptors and Hydras. Planetary's going to fall. Command Center's going to fall. Clem not taking a particularly good engagement. Loses his Liberators, too. I mean, the Ghosts, some of them survived anyway. Clem, this might be a little bit too much. Another orbital falls. He actually has 0 orbitals, guys. Am I reading this correct? No, and he's got 2. Okay. I'm like, wait a minute. He should have his main in natural. But he is awfully low. Something that is very necessary. He's trying to get some counter damage done. And he did. He killed a hatchery. But that's not enough. That isn't enough. Clem's army supply is still equal to his opponent's. His economy completely in the gutter. Somehow still building at least 1 new command center. That's got to be a cancel. And no cancel. Oh, Clem wanted to continue the attack on the left, forced to defend his natural and main. Liberators can't be in the right spot every time when you have no singular area to defend. For a while, it was working out when his defense was just around this, but being pulled to the extremes of the maps takes away the power of those siege units. And as soon Clem can't just completely abandon this avenue, because that's suddenly his main base is in trouble. But he has to get economy, and this is a funny situation. That spore's gonna get you. I think we're looking at a very possible, very likely solar victory in the late game after a good start in the early game. Clem down to his last bastion. Defense, planetary is going to help, but I mean, how many more engagements do you have to take like this to actually win the game against a Zerg player who has almost the entirety of the map? There's actually a 14,000 resource difference, which seems good for the Terran, but not when Solar is as rich as he is. This could lift, it probably should, but now we're up to 13 Corruptors, so anything will fall to this. Clem at 100 supply, probably knows that he is dead. SOL. Maybe can't believe it. Usually he wins against this guy. What's going on here? But Solar 100% has this in the bag. GG. Solar 2-1. He's going to advance on to the winner bracket finals where he faces Shameless, who defeated MaxPax 2-1. Couple of upsets in the semis. How about that?